Hey there guys, this is Trevor from illustriousmagic.com, and I'm here with Alec from Infinite Fall, the developers behind Night in the Woods. So for anyone that doesn't know, why don't you just go ahead and tell everybody what Night in the Woods is?
It's a game about the inevitability of death and pizza parties. And it's kind of like, it's a weird hybrid of genres that people try to get me to put it into one genre, and I just really don't want to. It's kind of like the bones or the structure of the game is an adventure game where you walk around and talk to people and interact. But there's also platforming elements, which you don't usually see in platforming, like triple jumping and stuff like that. And there's also a lot of other weird experimental elements, like you can go into a first-person mode where you control the main character's paws, and you can interact with stuff that way. And there's a band practice mode where you're playing with your friends in a really crappy band. So really it's a narrative-driven game, and the gameplay is all supporting the narrative. So it's like, oh, here's this interesting narrative situation. How can we express that through gameplay? Rather than let's prototype and find some interesting gameplay and then make a story around that. So it's kind of just a different approach to that. Yeah.
So one interesting thing about the game, or at least leading up to the game, was that your Kickstarter raised a lot more money than your initial goal, about four times as much as your initial goal. So why do you think the community really rallied around the game like this?
It was really surprising to us because Scott and I hadn't worked together before, and so Scott's the guy doing the animation and writing on the game, and I just met him over Twitter, and I was like, do you want to make a game? And we just kind of threw some ideas around, and he was kind of broke at the time, so we're like, maybe we could do a Kickstarter so you could buy like a Unity license. And we're like, okay, and Scott and his wife Bethany put together the whole Kickstarter and ran it. And yeah, we were fully funded within, I think, 25 hours, which is crazy, like overwhelming for us. And I think one of the things people responded to was our trailer, which we kind of made a point of not putting ourselves in the trailer and not having that awkward talking head thing going on. And also just people really responded to the visual look and the music and the way that they work together. And oddly enough, that was kind of the first time that Scott and I really coordinated and worked together, was that trailer. So if that didn't work, the whole project wasn't going to work. But fortunately it did. Yeah.
All right. So the game is it's a 2D game, and it's got some adventure and exploration aspects to it. So, but there is this, overhanging sense of doom. There's some missing people in the town, and everything's kind of feels kind of eerie and off. So, how do you guys try to fit in the sense of progression while also allowing you to explore all these different areas with this? But there's this sense of overhanging, dread almost.
So it's a very narrative-driven game, like I said before. So we came up with a structure that's basically the game has several acts. And each act comprises of a few days. And so you kind of go through the days and different things happen on each of the days and different things open up. So it's linear in that sense, but within each day there's different things that you can do. And then there's things that can progress outside of that structure. So structurally that's how we're organizing it. But in terms of the actual atmosphere, it's a very particular balance. And I think part of it is Scott and I are both bipolar, and we both are on medications for bipolar, and we both have dealt with depression. And that when you're kind of very aware of being in a comfortable space but also having this sense of dread, and I think that's why our initial trailer worked really well, because we both had this compatible emotional background that we could kind of tap into. So that's what we keep going back to when we're building new areas. It's hard to describe because it's a very natural thing for us that we talk about and think about a lot, so it's very just kind of reflex. But yeah, that's kind of the balance that we're trying to achieve, is enough lightheartedness because really the game for me was about confronting death. I was about to turn 30 at the time that we launched the Kickstarter, and it felt like a really scary big number that you kind of couldn't shy away from. You couldn't be like, I'm 20-something. It's like, no, you're 30-something. So yeah, and just kind of like that, and that's really that's a big part about what the game is about.
If you you just made me even more interested in this game. Like explaining your own personal background, your own investment in it, emotional investment. That's really very interesting. Very interesting. So, were there any specific novels or music or any outside artistic influence that you guys enjoy that kind of shaped what this game came to be?
I know Scott in particular is inspired by the punk rock scene, because he had a ska punk band back. It was actually a Christian ska band back in the day, and he's drawing on a lot of that. I'm drawing on my hometown of Winnipeg, Canada, which was kind of the town in Possum Springs is an American town, but Winnipeg has a similar thing where it's like people just kind of hate it, but it's also really cozy, but people also just kind of get stuck there and they're not really going anywhere, and so that kind of thing. And also for me, the musical Into the Woods, which is about fairy tale characters. There's a movie version of it coming out, because it does this thing where Act 1 is all the fairy tale character stories get mixed together and they all have a happy ending, and Act 2 is what happens after the happy ending, when shit just goes wrong for everybody and people die and horrible things. So that's kind of a big influence for me too.
Okay, all right. So currently, do you guys have like an intended release window, or are you just still kind of working to your own time clock, I guess?
We're gonna it's gonna take as long as it takes, but we're kind of hoping to release it, I think, early 2016. We're also releasing a free standalone story game right before Christmas. And it's involves a totally different character, but it fills in a bunch of lore and the backstory of the game and stuff like that. So that's what we've kind of been working on for the last 2 months. We kind of took 2 months off to build this whole separate thing. It uses all the systems from the main game, but it's a separate little tiny contained story. So,
well, I know that I am extremely excited to play this game and see where it goes. If other people want to learn more about it, where can they find you guys on the web?
nightinthewoods.com.
All right. So you can find more about Night in the Woods at nightinthewoods.com. And if you want to see more videos from the PlayStation experience, you can go to illustriousmagic.com.